yeah, not going to be fun. Like, you pick Ember into Nyx, by Carapace, as you mentioned, really good way, because you can't really control your Flame Shield, Flame Guard from when it gets damage out. The Nyx will always be able to time it, get a good stun off, and the follow-up's all there. Burst damage is really good with Vendetta and the Finger on hand, so they've got a great way of eating through the Ember, even the Luna. Sure, the Abaddon Shield might block a little bit of it, but you're still talking a ton of damage off the bat. Like, Shield can only block, what, 300, 350 until you get more levels down the line, so it's not the best solution for that. We'll have to see what else Team D brings out. Back to the point of TA versus Ember. Outside of Refraction, I think the Ember's got some ways of handling a TA in the sense that he's highly mobile. So you can just kind of spam your spirits on top, run down the TA early on, and once you burn the Refraction, she shouldn't be able to blink. That's the one thing I see for Team D, is that they've got this way to jump and isolate that TA before the BKB comes on. Once a BKB is up, that's where things get interesting. The TA should have a much easier time in that. And in lane, it can go back and forth. I think the Flame Guard early on gives the Ember maybe a level 1 to 3 lead, but once you hit more levels up, once you get more range with the side blades, it feels a lot better for the TA. And Neon are going back to the TIE TA. We were talking about that in the last series with the combination being blocked off. It does come out for OB.Neon, combo that we've been memeing about since TI8. And it just slides through. So we'll see if Neon can maximize the minus armor here. It's already looking pretty good on that. And they've got a lot of options for the pause 1. Sure, you don't have Terrorblade on hand, but you don't have a lot of meta heroes blocked out. You don't have the best stuns from Team D as well. Like, you've got Arrow coming through. You've got the Abaddon silence after he gets a few hits, the Chainshooter from Ember, and the Lucent Beam for a mini stun, but none of those can really hold a hero down for that long, so that's something OB.Neon can look to abuse in the pause 1.
Yeah. Should note as well, I don't think we mentioned this yet, but Polo did tweet out to Januel, I believe it was, requesting that he drafts Skema PA so they might have a chance in this series. It doesn't look like the PA will be coming out for Skim, unfortunately, John. I would have loved to see it, but CTM will not be able to play the Phantom Assassin tonight. Still, draft's about to be finished. Team D, it does seem like they are lacking some sort of an off-lane hero. OB.Neon, it's always kind of hard to predict what they're up to, but it does seem like they need a pause 1 of some sort. Anything kind of jump out at you, John, that you'd like to see for either side?
When I look at Neon, I still feel like the PA could work out for Scam if you want. Like, I mean, you have the minus armor with Tide and TA, you know, you might swell if you really want to. I don't think the matchup is too bad against Luna. Once you get a BKB, it feels a lot better. Luna can carry an MKB though, and there's decent enough magic damage from Team D to make that fairly annoying, so there is a back and forth there for Team D's part. Looking for the KYXY here, something to combine with Mirana. DK is still an option. Offlane DK for KYXY, we've seen him playing that a couple of times. You get the Arrow. They ban it out themselves, actually.
They'll go for the left rack on the side of OB.Neon.
They don't fall for the bait. I just wish, you know, Johnwell listened, took the PA, went all in the minus armor, made Ponlo eat his words, you know, because he's like, please do it. It's like, okay, we'll show you why it should work. Still, Leshrac gives a really good pace for Neon. So their win conditions really Opage, which tends to be the case. They have good push with the Lesh. They've got great magic damage early on. They can play a lot quicker. Their only timing holding them back is maybe the Dragonlance Blink or Dragonlance Deso from Opage and the Ravage timing on Enryu. So they just have to watch around that cooldown. We saw that work against 496 last time we saw the Tide.
Yep.
So Neon should be aware that when it's down, they shouldn't really look to take too many fights, but they've got Lion Nyx. So it's not like Ravage is completely necessary in all these fights. For Team D, they need to stall out a bit. Just stall out for the Luna, have something come out on this off lane that can really pressure a bit more because of how active the Lesh wants to be. Team D should be ready to kind of counteract that as well in the off. You can't afford to have Luna, Ember, and a farm-heavy off lane in this game for Team D.
Well, final pickup here. Team D, about 13 seconds left to make their decision. Where are we going, Team D? All right, we'll go the Conquer route. Fair enough, something a little bit different here, but it does kind of solve this issue of this. It did feel like the team was very squishy, right? Like a Luna, Mirana, the Ember. It felt like they were kind of paper here, but I guess with the Kunkka, you've got the boat rum now. You've got a bit more utility on the side of Team D. It still does look like a very challenging matchup here for Team D, though, if I'm honest. Like, OB.Neon's draft, it just looks solid. Kind of ticks all the boxes. You know, as Kuroki would say, you know, Thai TA does everything. So, it's very hard for me to kind of root against OB.Neon here just based off drafts, John, but you're the man in charge of these things, John. I'll ask you the hard question. Who did come out with the better draft?
I'm going to have to stick with Neon as well. I think they've got all the control from their Nyx and Lion here. They've got great team fight with the Tide Lesh. The TA can be their stable win condition going towards the late game. Team D, I mean, the Kunkka does give them a X-Arrow combo to play with aggressively on that offlane, and it can help them ride against the burst damage of OB.Neon. With the boat, with a shield from Ponlo's Abaddon, it will take a little bit more work for Neon to find those early kills, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think they've got issues with the early push Neon's going to look to force out with Leshrac, and the early timings OB.Neon will want to hit. Team D, it'll take a little bit more for the Luna to cook up. It'll take a little bit of time for the Ember to hit a stride. The Kunkka has very sensitive timings for maintaining his team up as well, and you need to be aware of that. If OB.Neon manages to run down these lanes fast and take some early towers, Team D might not have enough space to get that farm in the Luna.
Fair enough, John. We'll get into a game number 1 between OB.Neon and Team D, set to be underway. Of course, as usual, we should have a quick gander at the loot bet betting odds before we do go in. And oh boy, it's OB.Neon $1.22 to the 4 of Team D. So heavily kind of unfavorable here for Team D. I kind of agree with those odds, though, to be fair. I mean, OB.Neon, they just won 2 tournaments in the STA region. It's kind of hard to root against them. And in fact, they're going to run right into KYXY, who tried to go for a big impel out. That is a massive impel, but it won't matter. They've already lost Shanks. They find a bit more here on the side of Team D. They found Enri with the old school Warcraft 3 body block.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it takes me back, John. That takes me back. 2-0 already, Team D. Did I say they were the favorites or not, John? Of course they're the favorites.
Yeah, they managed to punish OB.Neon. They were pushing high ground from the low ground. They were just blocked out. Team D knew where they wanted to go for that smoke gank. They get caught off guard. The initial stun from Shanks with the Earth Spike only caught 1. The follow-up stun from John Yuel was bigger, but at that point they disjointed their split Earth from Scam, didn't quite land, and they missed some damage. So not quite the opening Neon would want, and that's a really good start for Team D already.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still going to be a 2-for-2 trade. No, never mind. 3-for-1 trade on the bounty runes. Looks like Genuel somehow was able to secure the bounty rune by himself against 2 heroes. But still, you've got a really nice start here for Team D. 2-0, nice gold influx, slight net worth lead already. And I suppose we'll start with this top lane, where you do see Destrus and KYXY going to be there against Genuel, and of course you've got CTM there, aka Mr. Skem, on the Leshrac. Is this a hard lane for Skem, John? Or KYXY Destrus, do you expect them to kind of just dominate this lane? Or should it be the other way around?
I see it going both ways. You've got options for aggression from the side of OB.Neon because of the chain stuns. Impale into Split Earth is one great way to look for some kills. At the same time, you can't underestimate the X-Arrow. And KYXY is fairly tanky on that Kunkka as well. 800 HP, very hard to zone out. Your support is melee, so you're going to have to run into the Kunkka. Never feels great. And it just gives Destrus more options in playing this Mirana. Just looking for the arrows onto the range creep, keeping that wave shoved in, and just constantly getting that EXP. You do have that early ward block here from the side of OB.Neon, so the large camp is taken out of play. That does mean you're not going to get that as much EXP efficiency for Destrus. Should be able to get a D-ward down the line as well. But that's enough to kind of offset that start for Team D. Again, it's just down to positioning. If you do manage to catch them out with the Earth Spike and Split Earth, could be really good here.
Well, there you go. There was the impel into the Earth Spike, rather the impel into the Split Earth there from CTM. We'll have a look at the other lanes as well, where we have a chance. Of course, mid lane, Yopaj. Right now, pretty low in HB. Chris has really been giving it to him in the Ember. He's going to stick around, though. He has 1 Tango left, and of course he can rely on the tower region a little bit as well. But it looks like Chris has been very effective in kind of playing the matchup between the Ember and the TA. So with that being said, Yopaj is ahead in terms of CS by quite a bit. So I suppose you win the HB matchup, but Yopaj is winning the farm war.
Yep, that's all that matters to the TA, really. You're not dying. That's already a bit of a win to the TA. Chris isn't able to CS as well, and Yopaj is much more efficient in the small camp, so he can just dip in when he's low, get some regen on hand, suddenly he's back in lane. You can see the back and forth between Chris and Yopaj. Chris doesn't win. He's immediately here against TA. Even if he burns through refraction, it's a bit painful trading right clicks like this.
Yopaj going to take a lot of damage again, but we'll have to be backing off. Water runes spawn up. Chris will go get his. Yopaj should still be able to run down and get his own one. It's going to be no contest here from Team D, unless Chris just keeps running. And yeah, Yopaj just leaves it. He's not confident, perhaps just being afraid he'd get chained up or something. That being said, you don't have a point and sleight of fist yet. But he makes the conscious decision to just leave it. So he gives the double the water rune over.
I don't mind that. He didn't have a bottle on Yopaj, and the wave was right there. So he prioritizes the CS again. I mean, Chris gets a top up. His bottle's back to empty.
Top lane. CTM, he's dropping very low, trying to go in onto KYXY, and it does cost him in the end, but he gets the kill first. That very fire allowing him to get the XP and gold before he dies to Destrus. So in the end, not too bad of a trade here for OB.Neon. But I'd say Team D probably not going to be too upset about that either.
Yeah, it's a bit of a back and forth. You're still slowing that pause. One, CTM's farm is definitely not the best, and that's going to slow down the pacing here for the Lush. But he does want EXP more. The fact that Skem soaks up that EXP first, might hit his 4-5 faster because of it, is certainly what you're looking for on Neon. You just want to get the levels up in the Edict. You want to be able to shove in a tier 1 tower when ready, and just make space for that Lush rack down the line. So overall, not too bad for either side, and I think that just sets up, again, just down to aggression. You've got level 3 on Januel.
Ooh, misses the impel. Trying to catch him in the lead, but looks like he was just quite a bit delayed there. Of course, the last lane, we haven't really talked about this one yet, but you've got, I believe, Shanks and Enryu together. Ponlo going to be there on the Abaddon, and of course, Drew is on the POS1 Luna. Speaking of Drew, John, he's been having a very, very nice time on that Luna thus far. But hold that thought, because mid lane, Yopaj and Chris just going at it, but Chris, he comes out on top. Yopaj, he's going to die for the first time this game. And that was a solo pickoff. And this is going to mean Chris gets another water rune. In fact, while that was happening, Ponlo dies down a bot lane. And Drew, he might be gone as well. The Earth Spike, it does land. The Gush is there. Januel ties to the top lane. Just kills happening everywhere.
Yeah, every side looking to play aggressive at every position. I am a bit worried for Yopaj now. There's a very early earn here from Chris, and because he got that kill with it.
CTM, he's been caught out. Torrent lands. It's a 6-2 already. Well, Team D. I'll tell you what, John, they're surprising me as Yopaj. Oh, hold on a minute. Enryu dies to the bot lane. 8-2, 1k net worth lead for Team D. What the hell am I watching, Jonathan?
Well, you know how Neon is sometimes. Sometimes they choose to play a bit aggressively and it doesn't pay off. Team D is punishing them quite nicely. 8-2, 1k lead on their side. And that's a Luna. You have to remember the Luna coming out from lane is going to be farming a lot faster. Should be faster than the TA as well. So you're just going to accelerate from that farming spike. And OB.Neon has bled quite a fair bit on every single lane. CTM still not finding that CS he needs. At the least, Yopaj is having a decent time, but it's still not amazing. And that is mainly down to the jungle as well. So you need to find a way to compensate. They are getting the chain stunts up top.
They're going to try into KYXY. We'll see if they can turn this time around. Team D, they're sharing the Diabolic Edict at the very least. Destrus has been very good to just soak some of that damage, as the Split Earth does actually land onto Destrus. But he already leaped away. Meanwhile, in the other lanes, more action happening as Enryu now going to be chased down by Drew. In the mid lane, however, Shanks, he has joined in. They're going to try and go after the Ember. Chris has no remnants available. Small mistake made here, but Ponlo going to try and help him out, and the chains is going to be there to lock down Yopaj. Instead, they'll go after Ponlo, but Chris is coming back in with the earn out. They'll get Shanks down, but Ponlo does die to boot. Yopaj, he's just going to go walk back to the lane, as both mid laners end up surviving.
Yeah, it's a little bit better for Neon because they lost their support first, so the solo EXP does go to your Paj, but you're still not going to be upset if you're Team D. You're forcing all these movements out, you're freeing up your lanes. The bot lane is completely taken over by Drew. Just nothing the Tide can do to really stop. He's a melee hero against a Luna. Can't really leverage the anchor smash as much, as you will get twacked away by the right clicks of Drew, and he right clicks fairly big. He went for the Lunar Blessing build over Moonglaves. So that base right-click damage of the Luna is pretty ridiculous at this point, and it's just not something the Tide can really hold up against. You've got the Ring of Health to recover in lane, but you're not really blocking too much of that damage.
Oh, Earth Spike out. Drew, he's going to be careful. Henry, you're going to move forward, but you've got the Aphotic Shield from Polo. In fact, an Eclipse to turn around now. Henry is going to be the one to drop. This Luna Abaddon lane has been very, very effective. Polo just helping Drew just turn around for the Eclipse, and they get another kill.
Yeah, it's just 2-4 forward. Like, you need to respect the Luna's magic damage at that point, and you need to respect the fact that glaives aren't leveled. It's all down to the Blessing and the Lucent Beam. That's a fighting Luna build, not a farming build.
Mid lane, yeah, Starfall's there. Genuel may just drop Chris. Oh, he did a Remnant far enough. Yapash gets him. They did get Genuel with Chris, but it may not be worth his own life, as now Yapash going to find a nice haste rune. Might be able to rotate across the map as CTM. He's going to be X'd up. Boat's going to fly in. I doubt this ends up in a kill. The torrent does also connect, but it doesn't mean much. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Yapash, he has popped that haste. He wants to go down bottom, try to find Drew on the Luna. Drew, good game sense. In fact, never mind the game sense. They had an observer ward to scout this out. Instead, they're going to find Ponlo on the Abaddon. And Ponlo, stick charges might be enough. Earth Spike is there though. Shanks, he makes sure he gets the kill, but now the trade. Can they find the line at least? They just want the supports as the Remnant forward, Chris, he does secure the kill. So it ends up evening out. Meanwhile, top lane, CTM now being chased down again. They're putting a pace on OB.Neon as the torrent does land, but the impale is there from Genuel. They want to try and turn, but Destrus is there with the Starfall, and he gets denied by the neutrals. As CTM does go down to KYXY.
Oh man, all this activity and Team D's finding the better end of the trades. I do worry about how much Yapaj is allowed to get there. Like, outside of those two deaths in the lane, he's been successfully rotating. He has really good farm on this TA, and as mentioned, the TA is the real win condition for OB.Neon. It's not the Leshrac. Skem's job is just to buy space to push towers, maybe get some magic damage off as well, and we're reaching that point for OB.Neon. Skem TP's down bot, looking for that push. They are already TPing out though. Drew does head up top, so we're gonna look for that tower trade here.
OB.Neon. Tier 1, not going to be too hard, but they're going to try and trade on the side of Team D. And it shouldn't be too challenging for them either, considering they do have Drew up there with the Mask of Madness. Just slowly start chipping away, and I don't believe OB.Neon's going to attempt to try and defend this top Tier 1. They'll just go for the direct trade. Still a 1k net worth lead for Team D though, and I've got to say, I mean, you've got to be impressed with Team D and how they've started this game. It just seems almost perfect. Like, they've just outplayed OB.Neon during these first 10 minutes. But let's see if the experience that they kind of might lack here might cost them in the mid game. It's going to get a lot more challenging as the farm gets up on OB.Neon. I'd love to see Team D just keep up the great work.
Yeah, and they're already setting up for mid. Their wards are really good. All aggressive, all finding these farming spots, these locations where they'd want to camp on Neon's side. That just gives them the opportunities to get that jump going. Like, they know where Yapaj is sitting to farm. Destrus could maybe look for a cheeky arrow. KYXY is here.
There he is, Yapaj. Oh, Torrent just barely going to connect into the arrow, but no, the Centaur. Get down, Mr. President. Yapaj will be fine. Oh,
they smoked up. This is the perfect time to smoke as well. Shanks has that finger up, so they've got more tools to play with. The burst damage is there. They just need to find a target here.
Okay, KYXY, it'd be a decent enough target as the trap does pop. Shanks is there with the Earth Spike, and they've got a lot of damage with the finger. They'll make sure KYXY does not survive another day.
Oh, yeah, it's unfortunate. Shanks did block the camp though, so he's gonna have to deny that sentry. And just, it's a bit of wasted gold, but it lands in the kill. Yapaj is happy, all is well. They are still sort of posturing around. You've got Ravage ready on Enryu. They could look to force a team fight, but he doesn't have a good way of jumping in. Blink still a ways off for the Tide. They are still clumping around Mido. Yapaj heads back in. He's got the Dragon Lance up, and
smoke.
He's not too far off here from his Desolator.
They ran right into Genuel, and they haven't got any detection, John. They haven't got detection, so Destrus, he's going to get him powered up. It won't matter, though. Chris, he'll save the day along with Ponlo, but they will lose this Abaddon, or maybe not. The borrow time is there. They're going to turn now. Genuel's gone. Ravage is out from Enryu. They've lost Ponlo, and they might just lose Chris as well. Drew, he'll pop the Eclipse. He'll try his best. Yapaj is still going onto KYXY, but the boat comes in. It'll be enough, it looks like Yapaj. He will drop as loyal as Enryu. He will go down, but now CTM trying to trade again, but the arrow, Destrus, he will hold them back. CTM, he's going to try and chase down this Mirana, but she does have another leap charge. Overall, you've got to ask yourself who that did favor, but with a 2-3 trade, it is certainly going the way of Team D.
Yeah, they managed to find a big kill to get some activity out on Drew as well, and he doesn't get punished for jumping in. They don't have Ravage now on OB.Neon's side. Finger for a minute as well. There's some downtime here for Neon. Team D are going to be farming a little bit more efficiently because of that, as they have the Luna, and they can start to look mid. They know there's no Ravage, so the big team fight tool for OB.Neon to hold back this push is not quite available yet.
I mean, they do still have the Tide, though, who could just stand in front of that Tier 1 and refuse to let them go take it. That's exactly what Enryu will do. There is going to be a big smoke up, though. 3 heroes smoked up, again going into Genuel and the chains. The Slider Fist connects on the neutral camp and chains them instead. Genuel, he can get the Vendetta and just walk away now. Bit of a small mistake there, but it is going to cost them a kill.
Missed opportunity for Team D. The blessing is that Drew is not involved in all of this aggression, so he just gets to farm up. Saving up for the BKB next, a very aggressive Luna build, just allowing him to join these fights early, pop the Eclipse, pop the BKB, and the Mask of Madness, get a good amount of damage off, and just do the work for his team. OB.Neon, despite this deficit in kills, though, they're keeping up in farm. That is still some signs of life, but they will have to really defend this mid-tier 1 to keep it that way.
It seems like Enryu being there is more than enough, though. Like, he's got the Hood of Defiance, he could just anchor smash over and over again, and he'll have the Ravage in 20 seconds. So this tier 1's not going down anytime soon. And in fact, CTM now is going to find a kill with Shanks right onto Destrus. Remnant forward, though. They get the chains out. Can they get the left track? No. No way in hell. CTM, he'll be alright. He's got the Hood of Defiance up. So instead, Genuel going to be chains up. Spy Carapace is there. Torrent does connect. They'll still keep trying. Impel also out with the mana train now onto Chris, but they'll still get the kill. So they get something out of that, and it is going to be a +4 for +4 trade. See if they can keep it up, though. It's Drew now. He'll go up to the top tier 2 tower. He'll start chipping away at that tier 2. And Shanks will show himself, and that's going to be enough to force Drew back.
It's all about this core matchup now. Yapaj versus Drew. Both of these cores are farming at the same rate while the rest of the team are fighting out. And I think you're going to have a good time with your Luna keeping farm like this. Like, Yapaj is still going to be a beast, especially with the Desolator coming through. But the Luna, with this itemization, with a fast EKB, is going to be hard to hold down.
That's a nice kill. CTM getting caught out again on this slash rack and is going to get punished for it. Destrus the one to take the kill on the Mirana. But they've been very good with this chains into the arrow. As mid lane now, they start pushing in with the siege creep, but Enryu is there with the Ravage and does connect right onto the Luna, but they have the Aphotic Shield, and now the turnaround, the Eclipse is there. They've got Shanks down already. Enryu's going to be able to back out. Ponlo's been targeted. Can they burst him down, though? The Abaddon's so darn close to dying and does finally go down. As Drew, he wants to keep going, and Chris rejoins the fight with the chains out onto Yapaj. Destrus is there. Torrent does connect Yapaj. They'll turn back onto Drew now. The Luna very darn low. Enryu going to keep the chase up, and they will eventually get him as Yapaj. He will drop as well. Chris does get the kill on the Ember. The chase is on. KYXY going to be focused here by Enryu and the gang. CTM's there with the Pulse Nova Diabolic Edict, and that is going to be enough. It's going to be one of those things, John. I mean, we saw in that last team fight, you can get the Ravage off, but if if Ponlo just pops the borrowed time and gets the aphotic shield on the Luna, Drew's going to be fine, as now Januel playing around with Chris here, but does go down to the sleight of fist.
Yeah, that evens it out a lot more for Team D. OB.Neon can't afford to give small kills like that away to Chris. This Ember is building up in a really fast way. Sanj up, along with the Urn from early on, into the Sanj Kaya. So you're going to have great stat resist, great magic damage flowing through as well. That's going to be a big boon for Team D once that's up. OB.Neon, they lost Yopaj in that fight. You can't afford to bleed out this TA, and that should open up the mid shop. They don't have Ravage, Tower was low. Drew just gets a couple of hits off, and it's cleaned up, and Drew is very close to that BKB I've been yapping on about, so he's gonna have that spell immunity. Once that's up, Earth Spike, Impale, it's not gonna do anything. Leshrac is not gonna do an ounce of damage towards that Luna. It's just such a big window for Drew to just completely dominate these fights, and that's something OB.Neon need to watch out for. They're the ones with the Nyx. They haven't been able to really scout around with the Nyx and get some pickoffs on that core.
I mean, that's where you've got to give you've got to give real credit to Team D though. Like, they've been the ones setting the pace of this game, and I think that's really what's put off OB.Neon this game one. It's just they're not able to kind of keep up with the pace. In fact, Drew gets a nice denial from that tier 1 top tower. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Januel, he's hanging around, but he needs some help if he wants to try and go for this kill, and his Vendetta's about to wear out. Won't matter anyway. As Chris just remnants out, Januel looks like he wants to keep just chasing down this Ember and keeping up the vision, but we'll probably have to leave it be for now.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of time where Neon can't quite use that burst home.
He's very far forward, CTM. Ponlo gonna try and cut him off on the Abaddon. Looks like he won't get punished. It looks like they're kind of relying on KYXY or Chris being around to have the lockdown. So CTM gets out of there scot-free.
They're still hanging around the jungle area though. KYXY's there with the X.
Now they'll get him. CTM needs some help, but there's no TPs coming in. He may have just kind of accepted the fact that he is going to die. Now the TPs come, but I think it might be too late. He's still alive, but not for long as Shanks. He blinked him, but misses the Earth Spike, and now Chris, he's looking for a big chains out. He found two great targets. They do have Ravage. They have to be a little bit careful here, Team D. They land the arrow onto Shanks. They will secure the Lion kill. As OB.Neon, they're forced to retreat, and this means Team D could rush a Roshan.
They clear it so fast with the damage output of Drew. The BKB is all done on our Luna, still on the 9-second charge as well. OB.Neon, they do have Ravage, but Enryu is way too far out to come in to stop that. And they're down way too many members of their team to really get the damage tree. So nice Roshan coming out for Team D. OB.Neon, they're still trying to just keep building up on Yopaj. They want that BKB up on the TA, and that should help them in these fights going forward. But it's all about the TA now, it's starting to feel like. It's all about Yopaj carrying through with the damage, carrying through with the movement. And he's going to have to deliver for Neon as they've put all their eggs into that one basket. I mean, CTM's the lowest farm core below KYXY. Enryu's just barely keeping up with KYXY, and both Chris and Drew are having a better time than their respective counterparts, except for that TA. So Team D's got a lot lined up for them. And this less than 1k lead for Neon really is just hanging on Yopaj right now.
And that it is. As OB.Neon, they're going to try and re-engage in this Radiant jungle, but nobody's going to be around. Interesting to point out, John, I just brought up the loot bet odds, and they are still heavily favored the side of OB.Neon, regardless of what's happened in this game. 1.25 to 3.7. Very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, if you look at the win probability of Dota Plus as well, it's actually still fairly close. 56% the way of Team D, but not too far off for Neon. So again, there's still a lot of power in Neon. They just need to somehow get their TA up in the front. BKB's done. Yopaj. Now be careful. Everyone's there from Team D.
They are. He uses this BKB charge and kind of loses it defensively, then they might just go after that tier 2 mid. But now it looks like he just wants that Blink Dagger up for that added mobility, because he needs to be the one to just jump in and blow somebody up immediately. And they really need everything they can get during that Ravage from Enryu. Especially onto this Luna. Drew now is going for a Daedalus pickup on this Luna, and obviously that's going to really make it a much bigger influx of damage coming out. Shanks down at bot lane, just hanging out. It's going to be there around Chris. Won't really want to show himself, however. Well, the rest of OB.Neon, they're just going to start pushing in that top tier 2. Team D, it looks like they're going to try and trade the tier 1 bottom tower.
It's not a particularly great trade. Yopaj is using his traps to slow down these creep waves as well and just farm them up. So they're not really getting a creep wave up to that tier 1 to get that push going. And it's actually leading to Neon getting more farm. Like Yopaj is starting to pull ahead over TA. They will commit to the front now, and there's no backdoor protection, so there's nothing to worry about. But that is a tier 1 for a tier 2. Not favorable at all. They still hold the Aegis for some time here in Team D, and they will smoke up.
It just feels like they lost so much in the last 30 seconds. Like, the tier 2 top was enough, but mid-tier 1 also dropping for free just doesn't feel very good if you're Team D. And now there's a smoke up to try and salvage something out of this terrible scenario for them, but it seems like they may not even find anything out of this either. Zenryu, he's going to hang around the Roshan pit. The smoke won't be broken. CTM is backing off at the right moment as well. The most they're going to get out of this is a courier and a ward placed by Ponlo. They'll try for the mid-tier 2 tower though. But this is going to be much more obvious than a smoke rotation. Chains around, X is there, CTM, Arrow does connect, they've got him locked down. TPs are coming in, but they're not fast enough. CTM's just going to drop. OB.Neon, can they find a trade for themselves? They've locked down Chris, but where's your damage output? Moonlight gonna keep him protected. Boat now coming in. Yopaj will go for the BKB. Traps out, but where's the detection? Who's got it? Apparently Januel's the only one, but he's not within range. Drew, he'll just keep going. Chains around Yopaj. He has no BKB charge up. Eclipse is there. Now the Ravage. They'll try to turn around. Chris, he might die. Fingers there, but it's only the Aegis as Yopaj. He'll drop. Januel's gone as well. Onto Henry. They'll find a third target. Team D. What an impressive start to this best of 3 series. As they're onto the Lion now, they've found Shanks. Arrow's there. They'll get the double on Destrus. Who would have guessed this would be how the game 1 went?
Certainly not me, Mike. Team D just showing up in fine form. OB.Neon, they dropped a lot early game. They were still keeping up in farm, but even these engagements with the BKB up in your pocket, it's not the targets you want to find. It wasn't the best use of BKB. The use of dust, the detection on hand is just off. Maybe some communication issues. I think while they were breaking off in the tier 2 mid, I saw Shanks playing around on the ramp side of the top jungle. So he's way too far out to get his own dust follow-up as well. And you need to work together as a team here if you're OB.Neon. You need to be able to hook up the Ravage, hook up the Earth Spike, hook up the Impale, the Hex, the Dust use. Everything has to be aligned because Team D's got a lot of counterplay with that Abaddon on hand. So you need to be able to just chain stun a lot smoother here. And the side of Team D, well, they know they're ahead now. 3k up. They're really strong on Drew and Chris. They've got a lot on hand. Chris is very close to that Shiva's guard as well. They've got control of the top jungle. They're just going to need a tier 2. Then they can take the outpost, which will really cut off Roche access for OB.Neon and just make things even tougher down the line. OB.Neon, they're playing on the opposite side of the river for the most part. Playing around that bot tier 2 area, bot jungle, trying to get their own farm up. Scam does have the Sanj Kaya now, so he's got a bit more damage and a bit more durability on hand, but he just still melts in the front line. It's just not a very tanky Leshrac, and they're going to have to come back in for the defense.
Oh, they're confident, John. They're moving up. Ravage not up for another 25. Arrow not going to land. That's going to be enough. They force the rotations back to the base, and now they can just take over the map again. So, I mean, Team D, they're really playing this very well. The CTM's going to move up. Apollo's going to get some vision. Genuel does see the Abaddon, but Drew sees him, but the Arrow Not gonna land. So they get the X out. They've got the chains onto Januel with the torrent follow-up. They'll just burst him down. Yapaj, he wants to try and force the fight, but the BKBs are out. Enryu, he can't get a good ravage off. He needs to back immediately and might just make it, but no, the Lucent Beam's there. They take out the Tide as well. Yapaj's gonna try and turn it to Ponlo. He'll at least get something for his trouble, but they'll lose CTM in the process. Team D, they're going again. They'll miss the chains on Yapaj, but they've locked him down, forced the BKB charge out. And Drew will just back.
Ooh. Yeah, this is a really bad spot for OB.Neon. Lots of good farm coming out now from Team D. They take that last fight smoothly. Real great use of isolation. OB.Neon was pretty broken up. Enryu needs to be able to start these fights. The Ravage is so key to their initiation, and he just can't get good one when the BKBs fly through. They've got the Ags up on KYXY as well.
Yapaj, he has no BKB. The X back, they will not connect the torrent, but KYXY is in with the Eclipse out. They've locked down Yapaj, they've got him. There's no buyback left. Enryu is going to pop the Ravage, but to what avail? Where's your damage output? They'll get a finger out. They do catch out Drew, but they'll lose Januel and they'll lose Shanks as well. Enryu, he'll keep chasing. They'll buy back on CTM, or rather Januel. CTM just respawn, but I think they get nothing out of this. And they don't. They got Drew with the finger, but everybody else gets out of there. And you force the buyback from Januel.
Yeah, it's rough. Like, Team D just knows how to play. They do not clear out the high ground though. Tier 3 still stands on the top, and every other lane is still protected by Tier 2s. So there's no progression here for Team D, which is the one blessing for OB.Neon. I'm looking at Yapaj's build right now. He's going for the MKB. I don't know how I feel about that. There's no real evasion to be worried about here. I feel like he might be better off with the Daedalus. There's a damage issue on the TA. They can't really build up on the minus armor aspect because Enryu has to hold back for the Ravage. So Yapaj is always jumping in. There's no Gush for the most part. Solar Crest usage as well has not been as clean coming out from Enryu. So I think they need more damage on that TA. The MKB is nice. But its output is just not good enough at this point to really turn the tide in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the only evasion that I can see on Team D is KYXY with the Heaven's Halberd right now. There's literally nothing else. He may preemptively be getting it, assuming the butterfly will come out on Drew, but that is not the case. Drew is just going for an Eye of Skadi up next. Quite a conservative kind of item build-up, but it makes enough sense as Enryu is going to get loose and beamed, and they've got the chains, they've got the X out with the torrent, and look at the damage! Drew just crits him once and he loses all his HP onto Januel now. He'll try to run, but they have the detection. They lock him down and they'll get the die back. Team D. I still can't believe what I'm seeing, but this is just complete domination from this Radiant side.
Yeah, Neon, they just feel really scattered. They're trying to work the map, cut creep waves, prevent any further push, and in that sense, it's working out. Like, they're giving Yapaj some time to keep farming. They're not losing any more of the map than they've already lost, although CTM.
CTM, he's going to try and go in on the Ember. Chris, he's locked down for quite a while. There's your Hex out with the finger. They have enough. The TP, KYXY, he TP'd him, but he's by himself. They might be able to capitalize now. X is there, but CTM gets the Yule Scepter out, and now they want to go after this Kunkka. They know he's completely alone. The Aegis, meanwhile, does go the way of Drew. CTM, it looks like he won't have the damage. KYXY with that Hood of Defiance is actually quite tanky, and now with the Torrent Storm, he'll chase down with a great push back on CTM, and here comes Drew, but the pause.
Interesting.
Yeah, Drew, he says it all. It is a rather interesting pause as Yapaj does DC. Unfortunate scenes from OB.Neon. 37-16, 4k net worth lead. Drew has the Eclipse as well as a lot of damage with that Daedalus up. CTM, do you think he gets out of this, John?
Doesn't look like it. He only has the Yules to save. So as long as they catch him out, get the Lucent Beam off, get him stunned. Shanks is out of mana as well. He's going to have to drain for a fairly long time to recover. Doesn't have the finger up. Hex is available. I don't think Scam is going to live through this one. Look at the side of Team D. They're already collapsing towards that area. Destrus is around, arrows ready. And as long as they get one stun off, that should be enough to lock in CTM in this spot. And they even went out in Roshan, as mentioned, in the middle of that fight. The shard is currently sitting on Drew, so he's going to have that, or he's going to hand it off to someone else, as he already has his Ag shard upgrade. Maybe hand it over to... Could it be good on, I guess, Abaddon or Ember, really? Those are your only real choices right now, as Kunkka already has it. Miranis is not good. I mean, the leap charge is nice, I guess, but I don't know if you really need it in Destrus right now. It doesn't feel like OB.Neon has the best catch, because they have to focus on catching the Ember more than anything else, not really worrying about Mirana. So, a lot to play with as they get the go-ahead here.
Well, CTM, he's going to try and make a run. In fact, never mind. He'll turn around. He'll try to man up onto KYXY. Arrow connects, though, and that's going to mean they'll secure the kill, and they'll make sure that CTM will not be able to get a counter onto KYXY. They did still get the Ember kill earlier on, so you've kind of got that going for you if you're OB.Neon. Right now, any kill they can get feels very, very good. And of course, it buys even more time for your Page to try and get even more net worth. But right now, I'm really not sure if the net worth's going to matter. It's Team D, they're playing so well as a team. It just seems like such a solid unit, this game.
Yeah, they're really well coordinated. They're jumping in together a lot more. OB.Neon just seems a bit more disjointed. They're just not lining up their initiation the way they'd want to. I'm still looking at your Page's itemization. The MKB's done. Going for the Hurricane Pike into the Swift Blink. I don't mind those items at that point. Just take up the slots that it can. I still wonder if this MKB is going to make a big difference for your Page, though. Like, it's still not going to match the damage output of Drew with that Daedalus. Drew's still not going for evasion, so the value's still not there. They are going to try to shove in this bot lane, though, while the side of Team D pushes out the mid and bot lane tier 2s. The Page is going to try to threaten those tier 3s.
I mean, why not, right? Trying to force them back, trying to get control over this game 1. It's Chris. Gets in with the chains. Remnant does block out the impale. Still want more. Lucent Beam does connect. Your Page pops the BKB. That Daedalus, though, the crit's gonna hurt if he's not careful. But he gets a refraction and actually avoids the crit that was incoming. Instead, Genuel, he's gonna be the one that gets caught out, and he's gone. Drew gets him. And they draw a line straight through the mid lane. They want the tier 2 mid tower.
Yeah, this could be a nice opening for Team D. They did pop the BKB earlier on Drew, though, so there's a window here for the Ravage to come out from Enryu. But they're playing with a man down. That's some stun that they desperately need to follow up after Enryu's initiation.
Tier 2 not going to last very long.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Drew sitting on 5k in the bank account right now. 496, back up to the top lane. They want to get back to that top tier 3 tower, and naturally the mid tier 3 very hard to take when you're against the tide. Oh, we're gonna have another pause. OB.Neon having some internet issues here with your Page, it seems. Obviously the side of Team D looking very confident now as they go high ground again. While that's happening, CTM, he's gonna try and make a bit of a rat play, it looks like, with the Diabolic Edict. We'll see if he could try to get a decent enough trade here for OB.Neon. But if you're Team D with an Aegis up, with all your ultis up, you just want to keep going, even after you get this first Rax. There's no outer towers left. So they could go for the Megas if they really feel confident enough to do it.
Yeah, and they could even just rush tier 4 to Luna. She just melts those objectives way quick. And CTM by himself, he could maybe get it done. I think if you are going to look for the direct objective trade, what Enryu needs to do is just stun them away from TPing. Just stop them from TPing home. And if you can stall out long enough, maybe CTM can get a little bit more for your team. Equalize at least 2 set of racks. You can't really kick mid as there's still a tier 2 here for Team D. But Neon, it's just tough right now. Johnny's way far off from the Ags on Nyx. Doesn't even have it queued up. Shanks is around. Finger is at the ready. He's got some good range with a Psychic Headband on. They just need to, again, choose the right target here. Drew has Aegis, probably not the go-to. but KYXY is fairly tanky to burst down as well. And Krish is just staying all the way back, just staying really safe in the Ember. He knows he doesn't have to be up front right now to set up for his team. So he can just wait until some of those big spells are popped, come in and clean up after.
Tier 3 tower gonna start dropping. They do get a nice arrow off. They caught the Tidehunter Enryu. He can't really afford to die right now. He's the only form of control they really have. They do get him out. Keep in mind, Enryu doesn't have buyback. He's short gold. The Shanks is flying across the map, but he is gonna survive as well. Another tidal wave through. Now Kunka, KYXY, now your Page gonna jump in, but Enryu doesn't find the opening that he wanted for that big Ravage, and now there's a Torrent Storm going on. They get Enryu with it, and that top Rax, it is gone. And they even found John Yuel. The Glaives, they just kill him. He's got no buyback. They're going for a second Rax. Your Page, he'll blink out. But how do you defend? It's a 4v5 scenario. In fact, if you count the fact that Skem's not even here, it's a 5v3. Arrow goes through. They've got the Tidehunter. And Ryu now, he does have buyback gold this time around as a nice torrent does land. CTM, he's TP'ing in to try and help out. Drew, he still survives. Bone flies through, but now they've got the Aegis down. This should be enough to force Team D back. But Drew, he's feeling a little bit spicy. He wants to keep going. CTM, it's a lot of damage. The arrow barely not connecting, but it won't matter. Chris gets him with the chains, and now your Page, you'll jump in, hoping for a big attack. It's nothing though. Drew is just tanking all the damage, and now Enryu, he's gone. He'll buy back as well. He's still got the Ravage. They need it desperately. He's your Page. He's in trouble. Wave pushes him back. He's down as well. No buyback on the TA. Back on the CTM. You don't want to die back like this. CTM, it looks like he's about to fall. Just about, and they do get him. He is down without buyback. Team D, they may have done it for game number 1. As there are 2 calls down, and now the Ravage Enryu, he's going to try and hold them, but the cheese is there. Chris heals up. They just can't kill anyone, and that's it. GG's called your Page. He has seen enough. Team D will take game 1 against OB.Neon, who just came off back-to-back tournament wins, John.
That is surprising. Team D playing spectacularly well. Have a really strong draft to play with. The offlane Kunkka paying off with a Mirana combination there, and they just play a lot better. OB.Neon felt like they were playing this aggressive first blood. They dropped it there, and then they start dropping their lanes as well. It kind of just fell flat from there. The only lane that was really going in any direction was Yopage's. His mid matchup was off to a slow start. He died twice, but he started finding kills, compensated, farmed up in the jungle really efficiently, keeping up with Drew. It just wasn't enough. The MKB buildup, I think, really cost him there, because there were moments where he was able to jump in, try to get some damage off for his team. It wasn't enough. If he had a Daedalus instead of the MKB, maybe they found a couple of kills. Maybe they can bounce back in after killing off Drew or Krish a couple more times. But unfortunately, it did fall flat for OB.Neon. Perhaps it comes down to the fact that they've got Shanks instead of Tims, and they don't have their full original roster. That could be a factor, but they did win with Tims. So, like, the 4 players should be able to integrate the new player in. Team D, they just play really clean, and I'm hoping that they could maybe keep it up, but OB.Neon, backs against the wall. If they want to stay in this upper div, and they have to find that win next game to force a game 3 out.
We'll find out if it does work out for them. Team D, 1 game away from proceeding against OB.Neon. For now, it is MLP johnxfire. We're going to head to a short 10-minute break, and right after that break, we'll be back with game number 2.